Latin American leaders at the UN General Assembly hail the reestablishment of diplomatic relations between the United States and Cuba.
Ecuador mira con esperanza el restablecimiento de las relaciones diplomáticas entre Cuba y Estados Unidos.
Ecuador's Rafael Correa saying he hopes the process leads to lifting the economic embargo against Cuba. Bolivian President Evo Morales also congratulating the U.S. on the new chapter. Their speeches come just days after Pope Francis delivered a powerful address to the UN, highlighting the sacredness of life at every stage. Anna Halpine with World Youth Alliance is joining us from Rome. Anna, what did the Holy Father say about the basis for environmental equality?
The Holy Father gave a very important talk at the UN this week where he reiterated the Holy See's commitment to the human person as the basis and foundation for human rights, for human equality, and for environmental stewardship and the focus on protection of all human rights.
Didn't he also talk about the human person's place in all of creation and how important it is to get that right?
He did. He focused on the human person as someone who is created and therefore not above themselves, not able to endow themselves with rights, but having rights and human dignity that needs to be respected, and that's the foundation for human rights. And this basis of human dignity that the Pope says is given from the Creator who creates them is also the reason why the human person needs to respect and affirm human creation and make sure that we protect the environment, protect the weak, and protect all of the aspects of creation that are around us.
In the Catholic Church, we focus a good deal on stewardship of our time, our talent, and our treasure. We're talking about stewardship of creation. Explain what the Holy Father said about that hopefully others can understand where the Church stands.
The Holy Father made a very important distinction between the idea of integral human development, which allows us to really focus on stewarding our own talent in drawing out, as he put it, the different talents and abilities that we have to bring the world, as well as our own capacity to understand our human dignity and to exercise our freedom. These are goods that he recognizes are fundamental to the human person. They're fundamental to the protection of the world and the environment, but they're goods that we have to develop and use on our own. So there's a fundamental difference in this understanding of integral human development, which focuses on the human person first, and then empowers that person to understand fully who they are in order to steward, to properly understand and protect all of the resources we have around us. And the Holy Father spoke a lot about the weak, the vulnerable, the poor, those in conflict, those suffering from religious persecution, and in a particular way, the environment, the earth which allows us to live and which we have a duty and an obligation to protect.
But the language in the Holy Father's speech was quite lofty. Do you think that his message is getting through first to world leaders and then to the world?
I think so. There were many very clear points in the letter. He spoke very clearly about two rights that he seems to repeat over and over in his pontificate. One is the importance of religious freedom, understanding the reality of our transcendent nature. And the other was this idea of a right to education. But he was very clear that this is a right to an education that has to be focused on the human person. And if we understand the human person, if we respect the differences that we have as men and women, if we understand ourselves as creatures who were created and not gods who can just do whatever we want, this sets up a pattern of freedom. It sets up an understanding of human rights and a respect for the law that Pope Francis spoke very clearly about. I think the message is very clearly understood by world leaders, and I think that it's becoming understood as people study this very important address that he gave.
Anna Halpine with World Youth Alliance, thank you for joining us from Rome tonight.
Thank you very much.